of Universal Peace by Abdul Baha. The resuscitation or rebirth of the spirit of man is through the science of the love of God. It is through the efficacy of the water of life. This life and quickening is the regeneration of the phenomenal world. After the coming of the spiritual springtime, the falling of the vernal showers, the shining of the sun of reality, the blowing of the breezes of perfection, all the phenomena become imbued with the life of a new creation. We were formed in the process of a new genesis. Reflect upon the material springtime. When winter comes, the trees are leafless, the fields and meadows withered, the flowers die away into the dust heaps. In prairie, mountain, and garden, no freshness lingers, no beauty is visible, no verdure can be seen. Everything is clad in the robe of death. Wherever you look around, you will find the expression of death and decay. But when the springtime comes, the showers descend, the sun floods the meadows and plains with light, you will observe creation clad in a new robe of expression. The showers have made the meadow green and verdant. The warm breezes have caused the trees to put on their garment of leaves. They have blossomed and soon will produce new, fresh, and delightful fruits. Everything appears endowed with a newness of life, a new animus, and spirit is everywhere visible. The spring has resuscitated all phenomena and has adorned the earth with beauty as it willeth. Even so, the spiritual springtime, when it comes, when the holy divine manifestations, our prophets, appear in the world, a cycle of radiance, an age of mercy dawns. Everything is renewed. Minds, hearts, and all human forces are reformed. Perfections are quickened. Sciences, discoveries, and investigations are stimulated afresh, and everything appertaining to the virtues of the human world is revitalized. Consider this present century of radiance and compare it with the past centuries. What a vast difference exists between them, how minds have developed, how perceptions have deepened, how discoveries have increased, what great projects have been accomplished, how many realities have become manifest, how many mysteries of creation have been probed and penetrated. What is the cause of this? It is through the efficacy of the spiritual springtime in which we are living. Day by day, the world attains a new bounty. In this radiant century, neither the old customs nor the old sciences, crafts, laws, and regulations have remained. The old political principles are undergoing change, and a new body politic is in the process of formation. Nevertheless, some whose thoughts are congealed and whose souls are bereft of the light of the sun of reality seek to arrest this development in the world of the minds of men. Is this possible? In the unmistakable and universal reformation we are witnessing, when outer conditions of humanity are receiving such impetus, when human life is assuming a new aspect, when sciences are stimulated afresh, inventions and discoveries increasing, civic laws undergoing change, and moralities evidencing uplift and betterment, is it possible that the spiritual impulses and influences should not be renewed and reformed? Naturally, new spiritual thoughts and inclinations must also become manifest. If spirituality be not renewed, what fruits come from mere physical reformation? For instance, the body of man may improve, the quality of bone and sinew may develop, the hand may develop, other limbs and members may increase in excellence, but if the mind fails to develop, of what use is the rest? The important factor in human development is the mind. In the world of the mind, there must needs be development and improvement. There must be reformation in the kingdom of the human spirit. Otherwise, no result will be attained from betterment of the physical structure. While the physical structure is the manifestation in some degree of the beliefs of the human being. In this new year, fruits must be forthcoming, for that is the provision and intention of spiritual reformation. The renewal of the leaf is fruitless. From the reformation of bark or branch, no fruit will come forth. The renewal of verdure produces nothing. If there be no renewal of fruit from the tree, what avail is the reformation of bark, blossom, branch, and trunk? For a fruitless tree is of no special value. Similarly, of what avail is the reformation of physical conditions unless they are concomitant with spiritual reformations? For the essential reality is the Spirit, the foundation is the Spirit, the life of man is due to the Spirit, the happiness, the animus, the radius, the glory of man, all are due to the Spirit, and if in the Spirit no reformation takes place, there will be no result to human existence. Therefore we must strive with life and heart that the material and physical world may be reformed. Human perception become keener, the merciful effulgence manifest, and the radiance of reality shine. Then the star of love shall appear, and the world of humanity become illumined. The purpose is that the world of existence is dependent for its progress upon reformation. Otherwise it will be as dead. Consider, if a new springtime failed to appear, what would be the effect upon this globe, the earth? Undoubtedly it would become desolate and life extinct. The earth has need of an annual coming of spring. It is necessary that a new bounty should be forthcoming. If it comes not, life would be effaced. In the same way, the world of spirit needs new life. The world of man necessitates new animus and development. The world of souls a new bounty. The world of morality a reformation. The world of divine effulgence ever new bestowals. Were it not for this replenishment, the life of the world would become effaced and extinguished. If the room is not ventilated and the air freshened, respiration will cease after a length of time. If no rain falls, all life organisms will perish. If new light does not come, the darkness of death will envelop the earth. If a new springtime does not arrive, life upon this globe will be obliterated. Therefore, thoughts must be lofty and ideals uplifted, in order that the world of humanity may become assisted in new conditions of reform. When this reformation affects every degree, then will come the very day of the Lord, of which all the prophets have spoken. That is the day wherein the whole world will be regenerated. Consider, are the laws of past ages applicable to present human conditions? Evidently, they are not. But almost all of them are. But for example, the laws of former centuries sanctioned despotic forms of government, and they still do, if we're talking those sorts of laws. Are the laws of despotic control fitted for present-day conditions? How could they be applied to solve the questions surrounding modern nations? Similarly, we ask, would the status of ancient thought, the crudeness of arts and crafts, well, it's attached to meaning and purpose more back then, the insufficiency of scientific attainment serve us today? Would the agricultural methods of the ancients suffice in the 20th century? Well, in the 21st century, we actually don't need any advancement. It's a distribution problem. It's a use problem. The technology is sufficient from California to feed the world 3 times. Okay, rumbly the tumbly. Nope, not yet, stomach. Transportation in the former ages was restricted to conveyance by animals. How would it provide for human needs today? If modes of transportation had not been reformed, the teeming millions now upon the earth would die of starvation. Without the railway and the fast-going steamship, the world of the present day would be as dead. How could great cities such as New York and London subsist if dependent upon ancient means of conveyance? Well, certain disasters could happen that would make that more reliable. It is also true of other things which have been reformed in proportion to the needs of the present time. Had they not been reformed, man could not find subsistence. If these material tendencies are in such need of reformation, how much greater the need in the world of the human spirit, the world of human thought, perception, virtues, and bounties. Is it possible that need has remained stationary? While the world has been advancing in every other condition and direction, it is impossible. Therefore we must invoke and supplicate God and strive with the utmost effort in order that the world of human existence in all its degrees may receive a mighty impulse, complete human happiness be obtained, and the recitation of all spirits and emanations be realized through the boundless favor of the mercy of God. The 26th of August, 1912. Talk at Franklin Square House, Boston, Massachusetts. Notes by Edna McKenney. Among the teachings of Baha'u'llah is the principle of equality of man and woman. Baha'u'llah has said that both belong to humankind, and that in the estimation of God they are equal, for each is the complement of the other in the divine creative plan. The only distinction between them, in the sight of God, is the purity and righteousness of their deeds and actions, or that one is preferred by God who is most nearly in the spiritual image and likeness of the Creator. Belonging to, project thought, the image, scene, whatever. Throughout the kingdoms of the living organisms, there is sex differentiation in function, but no preference or distinction is made in favor of either male or female. In the animal kingdom, individual sex exists, but rights are equal and without distinction. Likewise, in the plane or kingdom of the vegetable, sex appears, but equally a function, and right is evident, inasmuch as sex distinction and preference are not observed in these kingdoms of inferior intelligence. Is it befitting the superior station of man that he should make such differentiation and estimate, when a matter of fact there is no difference indicated in the law of creation? In ancient times and medieval ages, woman was completely subordinated to man in Judeo-Christian culture. The cause of this estimate of her inferiority was her lack of education, and certain biblical verses on top of that. A woman's life and intellect were limited to the household. Glimpses of this may be found in even the epistles of St. Paul. I was worried for a second he wasn't going to blame it on Pauline Christianity. In latter centuries, the scope and opportunities of a woman's life broadened and increased. Her mind unfolded and developed. Her perceptions awakened and deepened. The question concerning her was, why should a woman be left mentally undeveloped? Science is praiseworthy, whether investigated by the intellect of man or woman. So little by little, woman advanced, giving increasing evidence of equal capabilities with man, whether in scientific research, political ability, or any other sphere of human activity. The conclusion is evident that woman has been outdistanced through lack of education and intellectual faculties. If given the same educational opportunities or course of study, she would develop the same capacity and abilities. While in some ways women are better, some ways they're not in terms of their mental and physical functions. So again, that's not an inequality overall. There are some who declare that woman is not naturally endowed or imbued with the same capabilities as man, that she is intellectually inferior to man, weaker in willpower and lacking his courage. And, as I said, in those ways, no. In an overall sort of way. This theory is completely contradicted by history and facts of record. Certain women of superlative capacity and determination have appeared in the world, peers of men, and intellectual and equally courageous. Zenobia was the wife of the Governor General of Athens. Her husband died, and like the Russian queen, Catherine, she manifested the highest degree of capability in the administration of public affairs. The Roman government appointed her to succeed her husband. Afterwards, she conquered Syria, conducted a successful campaign in Egypt, and established a memorable sovereignty. Rome sent an army against her under the direction of distinguished commanders. When the two forces met in battle, Zenobia arranged arrayed herself in gorgeous apparel, and placed the crown of her kingdom upon her head, and rode forth at the head of her army, defeating the Roman legions so completely that they were not able to reorganize. The Emperor of Rome himself took command of the next army of 100,000 soldiers and marched into Syria. At that time, Rome was at the zenith of a greatness and was the strongest military power in the world. Zenobia withdrew with her forces to Palmyra and forfeited it to withstand a siege. After 2 years, the Roman emperor cut off her supplies, and she was forced to surrender. The Romans returned in triumphal procession and pageant to their own country. They entered Rome in great pomp and splendor, led by African elephants. And after the elephants, there were lions, then tigers, bears, and monkeys. And after the monkeys, Zenobia, barefooted, walking, a chain of gold about her neck, and a crown in her hand, dignified, majestic, queenly, and courageous, notwithstanding her downfall and defeat. Among other noted women of history was Cleopatra. In Egypt, you would say Cleopatra, I think, because there's a Q and a D. So, Queen of Egypt, who held her kingdom against the armies of Rome for a long time. Catherine, wife of Peter the Great, displayed courage and military strategy of the highest order during the war between Russia and Muhammad Pasha, which we're going to learn in a program that I've scheduled for later, the tyranny associated with that. It was not an Islamic state that he ruled. When the cause of Russia seemed hopeless, she took her jewels and went before the Turkish victor, presented them to him, and pled the justice of her country's cause with such convincing skill and diplomacy that peace was declared. Victoria, Queen of England, was really superior to all the kings of Europe in ability, justness, and equitable administration. During her long and brilliant reign, the British Empire was immensely extended and enriched due to her political sagacity, skill, and foresight. The history of religion, likewise, furnishes eloquent examples of woman's capability under conditions of great difficulty and necessity. The conquest of the Holy Land by the Israelites, after 40 years wandering in the desert and wilderness of Judea, was accomplished through the strategy and cunning of a woman. The red thread bit, remember that? After the martyrdom of Christ, to whom be the glory, the disciples were greatly disturbed and disheartened. Even Peter had denied Christ and tried to shun him. It was a woman, Mary Magdalene, who confirmed the wavering disciples in their faith, saying, "Was it the body of Christ or the reality of Christ that you have seen crucified? Surely it was his body." Again, that was part of the Mithraic myth, and that's part of why the Jews were making fun of Christianity and other people. It's like, our leaders were able to kill your God, I mean, you can state that thing without making it a mocking or blasphemous thing. Surely it was body. His reality is everlasting and eternal. It neither has beginning nor ending. Therefore, why are you perplexed and discouraged? Christ always spoke of his being crucified. Mary Magdalene was a mere villager. Again, that's sort of an add-on to the story to kind of put it in the place of other mythic heroes. Mary Magdalene was a mere villager, a peasant woman, yet she became the means of consolation and confirmation to the disciples of Christ. In the cause of Baha'u'llah, there have been women who were superior to men in illumination, intellect, and divine virtues, and devotion to God. Among them was Qurratul Ain. When she spoke, she was listened to reverently by the most learned men. They were most respectful in her presence, and none dared to contradict her. Among the Baha'i women in Persia today, there are Ruhullah and others who were gifted with knowledge. invincible steadfastness, courage, virtue, and the power of will. Briefly, history furnishes evidence that during the past centuries there have been great women as well as great men, but in general, owing to lack of educational advantages, women have been restricted and deprived of opportunity to become fully qualified and representative of humankind. We're seeing here part of the reason why the movement has largely been taken over by feminism. When given the opportunity for acquiring education, they have shown equal capacity with men. Some philosophers and writers have considered women naturally and by creation inferior to man, claiming as a proof that the brain of man is larger and heavier than that of woman. And also the reason why we say why people will say that the Teutonic is of the superior intelligence, and the East Asian more than the Caucasian, but it's not quite like that. This is frail and faulty evidence inasmuch as small brains are found coupled with superior intellect and large brains possessed by those who are ignorant and even imbecile. The truth is that God has endowed all humankind with intelligence and perception and has confirmed as his servants and children, well, metaphorical children. Therefore, in the plan and estimate of God, there is no distinction between male or female. The soul that manifests pure deeds and spiritual graces is most precious in his sight and nearer to